Okay, guys, welcome to insert day 12, right? So today we're going to look at error handling and validation, right? So imagine you are building an app for a customer. If someone enters the wrong information and your program crashes, that creates a bad user experience. So a professional software should never crash because of simple mistakes made by users. Instead, it should politely explain what went wrong and allow the user to try again. So today we are going to learn how Python helps us handle errors using try, uh, accept, and input validation. Okay, right. So an error happens. Yes, Mr. Changa.
My apologies for not raising my hand. Did you say try, accept, or try and what? You said what?
Try, accept, and input validation.
Accept A double C P T, is it?
Okay,
A double C E P T.
let me write it on my VS Code.
Thank you.
There you go. So an error happens when Python cannot continue running the program, right? Sometimes the programmer makes a mistake. Other times the user enters information that the program wasn't expecting. So today we're going to focus on errors caused by users, right? Alright, so for example, let's say we have age equals to int input, okay, enter your age, right? Print age, right? And I'm now running the code. So what happens if I type something like 20 instead of 20? What's going to happen? Remember, we've talked about integers before and strings. Yes, Mr. Toops.
Oh, yes, it will give you an error message because we entered a string instead of an integer, since we indicated that the answer will be an integer.
Okay, that's correct. So yeah, I wrote 20 in words instead of numbers, right? I'm not. Then enter. See, we got an error, value error, invalid literal for int with base 10, 20, right? So that's because Python expected a whole number, but it received a text instead. Since Python cannot convert the word 20 into a number, it stops the program completely. This is not good if customers are using our software, right? So this is where try and accept come in. So okay, let me clear my terminal. Okay, so I'm going to have try and a colon. So everything inside the try block should be indented by 4 spaces. So you can use tab to add 4 spaces for you, right? Then we have accept value error, print please enter a valid number, right? Okay, so I'm now, let me run the code. Enter your age, let's say 6, it printed please enter a valid number. This time the system didn't crash. Right? So what happened here is that Python tried the code inside the try block, this code, right? But when it found the value error, it immediately jumped into the except block. This is our except block, right? This is called error handling. So there are different types of errors in Python. So you are going to learn them one by one as you write code, and then you get errors. Then that's when you are going to know all of the errors, and then that's also how you are going to know what each error does. So for now, we're working with the value error. So the value error just simply means that we expected in a whole number. If it was a float, that means we expected a float, but we got a value, but we got a different value compared to what we were expecting. Right. So to create a try except block, you first write try. So try is a keyword followed by colon. Then your code goes under the try block. Then for except, and then we have except, and then the type of error that you are expecting, followed by a colon. And then you are going to indent 4 spaces. Then you are going to write what your code is supposed to do when we get a value error. Okay. So any questions are with using try and except? Yes, Alan?
My question is not on the errors. Ndobvunza pana pasi ndakangoona tichimbomushandisa madhesi apera but anyadzoshandei pasi.
So pass it just tells Python that for now ignore this line of code. We're going to come back to it later. For now you should ignore it.
Okay.
Okay, so anyone with questions about try and except? So no questions. Here's Mr. Changa.
Sorry, I wanted to confirm regarding pass, the keyword pass. Is it the same as putting the hashtag or the 3 double quotes to comment out the code, or what? Or is it the same thing, or what exactly are we saying when we are passing something? When you're saying ignore this code?
No, it's not the same. Okay, let's say try. Okay, let's say pass here, and then we have except value error here, then we have hashtag. Okay, well, let me exchange it. Let's see, here we have hashtag, here we have pass. Do you see that even except is underlined? That's because it's expecting a block of code here, but we don't have anything. We just have this comment. But if we say pass, right, it removes that error. So what pass tells Python is that, okay, for now we don't know what we are supposed to write in this block of code, but we know that we are going to use it in the future. So for now, just know that it exists, but ignore it. We're going to get back to it later.
So it won't run. So it won't run.
Yes,
if you run our code, it won't run.
Yes, it won't run. It will just simply skip it.
Okay. And it will run from line 12 to 13.
It will start running from line 1 Remember, Python starts running from top to bottom. So to check line 1, then it sees this check, then it knows that, okay, this is a comment, I'm supposed to ignore it. Then it comes to line 2, it's empty. Then it comes to line 3, it starts the try block. Then it runs this block of code. It gets the value error, or if there's a value error. If there's a value error, then the except block executes. After that, it's going to come back to this try, and then to run this try, this new try block. Okay, do you get it?
It's okay. You can proceed.
Okay, did you get it or not?
No, for the sake of time, let us progress. My question was, okay, my question, to be honest, my question was, what are we passing on line 11? Are we passing code above line 17 or the code below line 17? You said pass is ignoring. So are we ignoring the code above line 11 or the code below line 11?
Or just ignoring this part of code? This one.
Which one?
Line 11. The one with the pass.
Line 11.
Yes, line 11. But this one is
Okay.
it's not going to execute because it depends on line 11.
Okay. Now I understand.
Okay. Okay, so anyone who, with a question about try and accept? Yes, Mr. Lupangwa.
Sir, you said this one is not going to run because it's connected. I didn't see which one you're saying. Which one are connected to each other?
The accept block, it's connected to this block of code. Even this one is connected to this one. It only executes if we get an error here.
Okay.
Yes, if there's no error here, then this accept block is not going to execute.
All right. Yeah, they're connected. Okay. I understand.
Okay, great. So now, anyone with a question, or that was a mistake? Okay, so let's move on. All right. Even though our program no longer crashes, right? But there's still a problem. If the user enters the wrong information, the program simply ends with this please enter a valid number, right? So a better program is supposed to give the user another chance to enter what you want them to enter, right? This is where we can use a while loop. Do you all still remember a while loop? Okay, so okay, let me comment this part out. If we run this block of code, and enter letters, right? It's going to crash. It's not going to crash, but the code will just it will just end if the user enters the wrong information. So, but a better program is supposed to give the user another chance. We can do that using a while loop. Okay, let me show you. Let's say while true. We have try age int let's see, print your age is okay. Let me first comment this out. Alright, let me run this part first, right? So let's say 6. Okay, so our except block executed, please enter a valid number, but the program just ended. The user didn't get another chance to enter their age. So a good program is supposed to give the user another chance to enter the correct information, right? So you all understand how this part works.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
let me comment it out. Okay, we're now on this part. So I'm now running the code. Enter your age, let's say 6 again. Invalid input, enter your age again. Let's say 20. Invalid input, enter your age again. Let's say 20. Your age is now the user entered the information, the correct information. Then the while loop just ended. Then the code ended. It printed what? Your age is 20. Right. So what happens here is that the loop keeps repeating until the user enters correct information. This is what you call input validation. Yes, Alan.
Sorry, say, pakungobuda among my words, break.
Yes, last week I remember when we first time we talked about loops, we talked about the break keyword and the continue keyword. So the break keyword it stops the loop completely.
Okay.
So what the break keywords does, here our while loop started with while true, right? So the break keyword, it changed this true into false. So this just stopped the loop.
Okay.
Okay. So what when we executed this code, Python saw that okay, while true, and inside the while true loop, we have try and except, right? So it's going to execute try first. Age equals int input, enter your age. So I'm now expecting what? A whole number. If the user enters the information that we're not expecting, this is where the value error exception executes. It's going to print it's going to print invalid input. Then it's going to ask the user to enter the correct information, right? This break keyword is only going to execute if the user enters incorrect information, right? If the user keeps on entering incorrect information, then this break keyword is not going to execute. As long as this break keyword doesn't run, that means that our loop is going to run forever. It's going to the system is going to keep on asking the user to enter the correct information. Yeah. Do you guys get it? Any questions? Yes, Mr. Changa.
Okay, I explanation is making a lot of sense. So my question is, so we said while true try, when it tries, and then it maybe when it tries line 12 and somebody enters a string, then it is going to jump to line 14. Is it?
That's correct.
But when someone enters the correct, for example, when someone enters the integer a whole number, that is when it's going to jump to line 17, and it's going to break and jumps to line 17.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the purpose of try and except is to catch the errors. If the user enters the wrong information, the system is going to catch it using this except block, and then prints and then it will run this print function and tell them that you entered invalid input. Then we just use while true, so that whenever the user enters incorrect information, it can keep on asking them to enter the correct information. This is the purpose of the while true loop. And then the break keyword is just to end the loop when the user enters correct information. Okay, so we all understand it. So no questions. Okay, great. Let's move on. Okay, let me comment this out. Another common error is the zero division error. Right? We have zero division error. Okay. So in mathematics, division by zero is undefined. So Python raises an error. So to catch a zero division error, you just have to start your try block. Let's say number equals to 10 divided by 0, except zero division error. Print you cannot divide by 0, divide by 0. Right, this is how you catch a division error. So Python already has an inbuilt zero division error. So instead of crashing, Python just displays our friendly message, the print function, you cannot divide by 0. Right. So when you're working with numbers, you're calculating numbers, it's important to use the zero division error. Okay. Any questions with the zero division error? Yes, more blessing.
Thank you, sir, and good evening, everyone. I'm thinking, is it okay if we may have maybe an example of the zero division error, so that maybe we can capture the concept, how it works? Thank you.
Okay, and I'm now running the code. Okay, let me say this. Let me change this into okay, fine. For example, okay, anyway, this also works. Let me here. I'm running the code. It printed you cannot divide by 0. Reason being is because when we ran the code, Python started with this try statement, right? its own number equals to 10 divided by 0. So you can't divide by 0. That's why you got what? That's why you got this print function. You cannot divide by 0. Let's change that to 2 right here. See, this time I ran the code, but we didn't get an error. This means that this variable, it ran successfully. We didn't get any output because we are not printing this variable. So let's print it number. See, we got 5.0. So meaning that this was successful. Python didn't catch any errors. But if we change it back to 0, then we run the code, we're going to get you cannot divide by 0. Yes, Mr. Janga.
Okay, I can see More Blessing has responded. I wanted to add more to his question, but to her question, but I think she has responded, so I don't think it's no longer necessary. Because when I thought my thinking was when she proposed for an example, I thought maybe she was expecting, like, you see from line 21 when you said try, is it?
Yes.
Was it not possible for us to go then below on line 22 and then say x, for example, x is equal to input first number, then y is equals to input second number, then we say or maybe we say something like result is equals to x divided by y.
Yes.
And then something of that sort. I think
Yes, we can.
that is what she expected. I don't know if I'm wrong.
Yes, you can also do that. The difference between what I did and what you said is that here I already hard coded the numbers.
Okay.
With your method, we are now asking the user to input the numbers, of which it's actually one and the same thing. Okay, let me show you. So we have a equals to int input, enter the first number, then b equals to int input, enter the second number. A divided by b, right? Okay, now running the code, enter the first number, it's 10, enter the second number, 0. You cannot divide by 0, right? So I'm now running the code again, enter the first number, say 20, enter the second number, let's say 5. It printed the result, this print function. Right. So the first one, we got the error, you cannot divide by 0. So because the user entered the first number, entered the second number. After the user entered the second number, then this line is the one that was executed. Line 24, when Python tried to divide A and B, that's when we got the 0 division error, because you can't divide by 0. So since we can't divide by 0, then this print function was executed. Do you now get it? So any questions? Okay, so I'll take that as no questions. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So we have talked about value error, input validation, and zero division error. Let's all look at index error, right? So we have what? Index error. So anyone wants to take a guess what an index error is? From what you noticed on value error and zero division error. Anyone? So no one has an idea of what an index error is. Alright. So an index error occurs when trying to access a list index that doesn't exist. Right. So an index error occurs when trying to access a list index that doesn't exist. Right. Okay, so let's say we have our try block. Inside our try block we have what? Let's say names equals to so Brandon, we have Nyasha, and we have Tom. Index equals to so we have index equals to int input enter an index. Yes, Mr. Janga.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm tempted. Can I try and predict? Because I was tempted to raise my hand when you asked what is the index error going to do, but I was not too confident.
Yes, we can. Go ahead and predict.
For example, if you try to enter an index, if somebody enters 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, if they enter 4, then we are going to receive, what you are about to print on line 37. I'm sure you want to write something like enter an invalid index or something like that, because we only have 0, 1, 2 in that list.
That's correct.
Okay.
So you said we have how many indexes do we have? We have what? 0, 1, 2.
Yes.
Okay, so let's run the code. Running the code. So you said it's 0, 1, 2, right? So let's say index number 3. Exactly, invalid index. Let's run the code again. Enter an index. Let's say 2. It printed the valued index number 2. So we now all understand how the try and accept block of code work, right? So any questions with try and accept? So no questions. Okay, so let me clear the terminal. So we have our value error 0 it has 0 division error index error with key error. Okay, so these are the 6 common errors in Python, right? So there are still more errors that we that are not mentioned here, but these are the common ones, right? So they all work the same way, just like the index error, 0 division, and value error. You just have to change this part of code and write the type of error that you think the user might enter. Okay. So do you all understand the input validation? So no questions. Okay. Yes, Mr. Changa.
Yeah, I think just to clarify, maybe if you don't waste much of our time, like on the last part when you listed the common errors in Python, maybe if you can just you don't have to write code, like just to explain what, for example, you know that the 0 division error checks if the number that is dividing the other number is equal to 0. So maybe you can just explain what the key error does, the type error, the name error does. Maybe you can just explain without writing code.
Okay. So the value error, right? It happens when the user enters the wrong value, right? And then the 0 division error, it occurs when the user tries to divide by 0, right? And then index error, it occurs when the user tries to access an index that doesn't exist
That does not exist. Yes.
that does not exist in our list or whatever, right? And then key error, this one, the dictionary key doesn't exist. And then type error, incompatible data types. When you're trying to combine a string and an integer, right? Those are incompatible data types. And then name error, the variable is not defined. That means that you're trying to access a variable that was never created in your code, right? So do you all understand the difference between these 6 errors? So are all good on those 6 errors? Okay, so I'm going to check that as a yes. So let me comment this out. Okay, then the last one. Let's say we have try. Let's say number equals to int input enter a number, with answer equals to 10 divided by number. Then we are going to print the answer. Then we have exception is E. Print something went wrong. Print, okay, let's F error oh no, it's E. Right. So here I said exception is E, right? But which error are we expecting from E? Let's say the user is going to enter 0. So which error are we expecting? Anyone? We have value error, zero division error, index error, key error, type error, or name error. So which error are we expecting? Yes, Alan?
I think zero division error.
That's correct. Right. So you are expecting what a zero division error in case the user tries to divide by 0. Right. But there's also another error that can happen. What if the user yes, Mr. Changa?
Yeah, is it can it be the type error?
Yeah. Yes, it
I
can.
said there's another that can okay. So I'm asking is my question is, can it be the type error, the other error besides the zero division error?
Yes, it can be the type error, and it can be the value error, because here our input this input function, it expects what an integer. What if the user enters a string or any character? The zero division error is not going to do anything because Python is looking for what the zero division error. It's not trying to catch any, it's only trying to catch one error, right? So in this case we can expect multiple errors. So since you don't know which error that might occur, this is where we can use exception is. Okay, so instead of here saying except index error, except the error name, we can say except exception is. Okay, so it's exception is, and then here this E, it can be any variable. You can call it any variable. You can even use your name if you want, right? So this variable is the one that's going to catch all of the errors. This is where you are going to get the error message, right? This is why I'm printing it here in line 55. Printer error and then E. Okay, before I run the code, do you all understand what's happening here? So we all understand. Let me run the code. Okay, enter a number. let's say 2. We got 5.0, so this print function, it ran properly, right? Let's run the code again. Let's say 0. Something went wrong, error division by 0, right? So let's run the code again. Let's enter, let's say 5. Enter. Error invalid literal for int with base 10 5. So the first time the program ran successfully because the user entered the correct information. Then the second time it printed something went wrong, error division by 0, right? So this division by 0 is coming from this e, right? This variable e is the one that contains the message division by 0. We then ran the code again. This time we entered a string 5, and then we got invalid literal for int with base 10 5, right? This just means that we're expecting an integer, but the user entered a string. The invalid literal for int with base 10 5, it was printed using this e variable, right? Any questions? Okay, so no questions. We all understand how exception as e works. Okay, great. Anyone with a question?
No, that was a mistake.
Okay, so we all understand except exception is e, right? Okay, great. But okay, let's say let's also use number equals int input, enter a number, answer equals 10, number, print answer. Right, so you can use multiple except blocks. You are not only limited to one. So if you know the type of errors that you might encounter, it's advised that you use multiple except blocks instead of using exception as e. So exception as e is good when you are in development mode, trying to get all of the errors that you in the system might catch, right? Once you know the error that you can expect, then you can now use multiple except blocks. Each except block with its own error, error message, right? So remember that you're not limited to only one except block, right? So any questions? Yes, Mr. Lupangwa?
So you said you can use multiple except blocks when you know the number of errors, or I didn't get that.
Or when you know the type of errors that you are going to expect.
Oh, okay. If you don't know, then you should use one.
If you don't know, then you can use exception as E.
As E. Okay.
Yes. If you know them, then just use multiple except blocks. Okay, yes, Mr. Changa?
Yeah, so just for clarification purposes, on line 53, when you used exception as E, kindly just confirm exception as those three words, they are keywords. You cannot replace them. Only is can be any word, is it? Can be any variable.
That's correct.
But okay.
That's correct. So these three exception is, you can't replace them. Alright. Any questions? So no questions. So today we learned how to stop programs from crashing by using try and except. Right. So these techniques are very important when you are building your systems. Each and every system that you can think of, it has try and except, right? So as programmers, we should never assume our users are going to enter the correct information. Always assume the worst, that the user is going to enter something that your code is not expecting, right? So, and also make sure that your error messages are polite and can help the user to know what type of information is expected from them. So this is the end. This is the end of our lesson. Does anyone have questions? Yes, Mr. Achanga.
Yeah, I have a question before we conclude today's lesson. It has got nothing to do with what we learned per se, but I just wanted to ask something. Yes, we do understand concepts that you are sharing with us in every lesson. But are you by any chance going to be able to lead us through, maybe I don't know, or it's not part of this course, to maybe guide us, or maybe the way you're writing, let's say today we were learning about how to handle errors, yesterday we were learning about functions, and you were writing code and explaining how it works. I think it's vital that maybe you could, maybe I don't know at what stage, maybe you were planning to do that. Help us create maybe a small project. Yeah, because I can see that for some of us, integration can be a very problem to be able to integrate all these concepts and come up with a application or a software that is running. I think it can be a problem. So I don't know if there's any kind of a meeting or any kind of a lecture or any kind of a lesson that maybe you can actually lead, doing what you're doing right now, but in the process creating a system or a very simple system or a very simple application whereby you can actually ask and, I don't know, is it going to happen or that is my question.
Yes, it's going to happen. So right now I want you guys just to see and know the basics before we can start creating our big projects. Remember,
it's okay.
remember that this is actually a 3-month course, right? So, for the first month we're looking at what basic Python. Then the second month we're looking at some advanced topics and also an introduction to Python framework, right? And then the third month we're going to deep dive in a Python framework. So now when we have finished learning about the basic concepts of Python, then that's when we're now going to start building our projects, taking from what we learned from day one, from strings, variables, to try accept functions. Then we're going to start combining them. So for now, it's just about learning the basic concepts of Python.
No, it's okay. I'm answered. Thank you so much. Because to be able to create, I think it needs a different skill to be able to integrate all those concepts into and come up with something that is running. It definitely someone needs it needs a different skills. It's different from just mastering how a script is running. But thank you for answering my question. I have understood.
That's true. So that's why when I give you the projects on Friday, I want you guys to try and do them yourself so that I can see where you guys are struggling. Then we can fix that area before we start creating projects, to make it easy for you guys to flow and not to struggle when you're now creating projects alone outside of the course.
Yeah, that's true.
True. Okay, so guys, that's it for today. So I will see you tomorrow 8 p.m. sharp.